Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're joining. My name is Patricia Mezu, and this is Impact the Child. I am in service of young learners in sub-Saharan Africa. So if you are working with children in any capacity, you could be a nursery school owner, you could be the head of an NGO, you could be a teacher, you could be a supervisor, a coordinator, even a parent. You're welcome to impact the child. Today, I'm going to be talking about my new series, which is called Successful Nursery School Start. It's a successful nursery school startup. I already did one, which was a checklist, and today I'll be briefly talking about forms and documents for a new nursery school. And this has been prompted by my colleague who is setting up a new nursery school in Tanzania. It's relevant for anyone who is either starting a new nursery or perhaps if you have one already and you want to check in on best practice, then this will be good for you also. It's a short, these are just snippets of information. I'm not trying to give you an entire webinar or course on, on, on how to start a nursery. Although if you want one, I would be very happy to um, to do one for you for a fee. So here we go. As I said, this is a suggested list of forms and documents for starting your nursery school successfully. Where I live in the Gulf, this is part of my consultancy, is to start up new nurseries. And I've been doing that for over 12 years successfully. So I know quite a bit about how to set up a quality informed preschool. I'll go straight to number one. Prepare a welcome letter for parents. Within the welcome letter, it's important to state who you are, what is unique about your setting, and just it breaks the ice. It gets parents it makes parents informed. They find out what does your nursery school stand for, who are you as a leader or owner. They find out about your values, and they get a feel of what you represent. Number two, have a very clear registration form. Nowadays, it's great to have forms that can be filled online and also in person, depending on your audience or your clientele. So make sure that you provide options. Not everybody, for example, will want to fill in a form in by hand. Some people will just want to pop on to an online registration form. So provide options depending on where you live and what suits you. There are various things that are within the registration form, including the profile of the child, his or her contact details, if they have allergies, if they have any issues with special education. There's so many things on that form. Again, if you need additional information, just let me know. I do provide consultancy in terms of forms. An emergency contact form is important. Fee payment or fee structure form is important. That provides a lot of clarity in terms of what the fees are, how the fees may be paid. For example, some people have annual fees, and that's at a reduced rate. Some people have monthly fees, monthly payments, and those monthly payments may be actually higher than paying a one-time annual fee. And some organizations that I know perhaps have a weekly payment structure, but I don't advise that because at the end of the day, You need to have the money coming in consistently to your company account, if you have one, or other account. And the last thing you want to do is to create a structure that will give parents the options not to pay. Then you're in a position where you're chasing parents for money, and this is never ideal. So from the onset, make your structure extremely clear. And even if you're just starting out and you've never done this before, don't be scared to ask for money. That's one of the things I'll say. If you are providing a quality service, then parents need to pay. If they go into the supermarket or the market and they want to buy tomatoes, they have to pay. So why should it be any different for childcare? Number 5, create an allergy register, which should be displayed. In case you have children, for example, who are allergic to nuts, you want everyone in the nursery, the staff, to know who are those children who have allergies. Number 6, have a form which authorizes pickup and drop off. This is part of safeguarding. We always want our children to be safe, so we always want to know who is going to pick them up and who is going to drop them off. It probably is going to be the same person every day, so that has to be documented. In the event that that changes, for example, sometimes there's an emergency, then please have a system in place that allows whoever the emergency contact is to collect the child. I know in sub-Saharan Africa, sometimes we feel all children are safe and all of this, but I am always very cautious about safeguarding children. And there may be an instance of, for example, I've had an experience where parents got divorced and I wasn't sure about who had custody of the child. So this became very important to make sure I was very clear on who is to collect the child and who is not to collect the child. Number 7, prepare consent forms. So for example, if you are going to be taking any photographs of children or if they're going on a field trip, have consent forms. Parents need to give their written consent. Number 8, create an injury report. Sometimes children fall down in the playground or inside or whatever. Then have a form to document any injuries. And similarly for number 9, if there have been any incidents, sometimes, as we know, children do bite one another. That's a typical injury in preschool. And this has to be documented. Systems that are clear and documented will give you much less hassle as an owner, as a leader of the preschool, because your process is in place. Number 10, have a medical permission form. That works, for example, when children, perhaps they're on some form of medication, maybe antibiotics or something. I hope they're not, but I mean, sometimes this does happen. And then you want to make sure that everything is documented. If you, for example, have to, or your staff, or if you have a nurse, whoever's in charge of this area, everything should be documented, because you don't want it to be that, for example, you're meant to give 5 mils of whatever medication, and then someone gives 10 mils, and then there's a problem. So document everything to protect yourself. Create a staff handbook, that's number 10, and create a parent handbook, number 11. This will give you a lot of clarity. Those 2 handbooks, it allows you to document your own process as an organization. And it allows the staff and parents to know exactly what to do, how to do things, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. These handbooks are usually a little bit long, but I'm telling you, they are worth the bother. Number 13, have an acknowledgement of receipt of any handbook, so people can have a little signature. It sounds as if it's very bureaucratic, but particularly for your staff and for your parents, it's good to have them just to have a quick sign and say, oh, I acknowledge receipt. Of course, the next task is to get them to actually read it. Number 14, create a nursery school contract for parents so they know what their obligations are. That does not have to be extremely long, but it's very good to be able to document things like this is the time of when we pick up and drop off. And if you're late to pick up, these are our fees for late pickup. There's so many things that I would say can go into a nursery school contract with parents. Number 15, have a child daily report. Now, this is something that can be done as a document that's on paper, but obviously there's so many apps out there for nurseries. So some of them are free, some of them are not. So that might be something that you want to explore because it makes it more convenient if it's online. But then if your parents are not online, then it's useless. Have a sign in and sign out register. Again, we're back to safeguarding. Number 17, have a cleaning log for whoever's cleaning. They document the time, what's been cleaned, and all of that. If any children are on the bus, have a bus list. Number 19, have a set of invoices and receipts for things like invoices and receipts, handbooks, and stuff like this that you know will be shared within your community with parents or carers. Make sure that they're really nice looking documents. It's easy to do that. Canva is available. Make them look nice. Choose a font for your nursery. I've always found that to be very helpful, that you have one font for your nursery. And always use your logo. If you have a website, put your website on your documentation or your email address. So be professional about that. And the last point would be reminders for payments. Sometimes, of course, we find that, unfortunately, and I'm being realistic, sometimes parents don't pay up, so you have to remind them about payments. So this is the list of 20. I hope it's been useful. Please like my page, like my post, and put a comment in there to see whether it's been helpful or not. And also let me know whether there's something else that you might be interested in hearing from me on as you run your nursery school. All right, best wishes.